I'm Car. Do I need to? Sorry. Okay. I'm Caroline. I'm an alcoholic. Can y'all hear me? Okay. Okay. So I'm Caroline. I'm an alcoholic. My sobriety date is July 6, 2004. I always start off with that. And I'm so grateful to be able to come here tonight. And thank you, Kelsey. I don't know if I deserve all that, but thank you. And she's the miracle. And I just want to start off a little bit. When Jason called me this week to fill in, and I spoke about 4 or 5 times over the years, so I may not be as prepared as normal, so just bear with me. But when he called me this week, I didn't tell him that it was probably one of the busiest weeks that I've had this year with my business. I'm very grateful. We just celebrated 10 years in business, and the reason I'm saying that is because I've been sober 8.5 years of that. And if it were not, the reason I didn't tell him is because if it were not for this program and my higher power, who I choose to call God, I would not have a business or a family or Little League baseball or any of it. So I'm so grateful to be here tonight. So I did not tell him that, and I was, I heard when I first came in, and I thought it was kind of harsh, but it's very true. It says, whatever you put before your sobriety, be prepared to lose it. And so that's why I didn't tell him no. And so I feel at home here. I'm just really glad to be able to share. When I first shared my story, about 8 years ago, the first thing, I'd been sober. I think back then you didn't have to be sober a year. I'd probably been sober about 6 months, and I still wanted to tell everybody. I still felt like I needed to tell everybody, even though I was a drunk, what I had done or where I had gone to school or what I accomplished in business and all that. But the truth of that is none of that's important. I'm just a little southern girl from Wake County who made a mess of her life and found hope in this program. And so here's my story. So I was born in 1970. It's easier for me to remember how old I am. So I was born in 1970, and I was born in Fuquay-Varina, North Carolina, and I'm a twin. So I speak in we a lot, and so because if I say we went to school or we did this, I'm a twin. Her name's Catherine. She is one of us, so as well, and she actually, hit her peak before I did, and I kept saying to myself, "No, I'm not like her. I'm not like her. I'm not. I can control this." And wrong. But anyway, so I grew up, and in my mom. She very Southern Baptist and very sweet, just kind lady. She had a lot of grace, and I'm very thankful for that. She was stern, but she had a lot of grace and mercy, and I'm very thankful for that. But we grew up in a house. We didn't even have vanilla extract in our house, and we just grew up that alcohol was bad, and don't touch alcohol, and this is bad. And later I realized my granddaddy, her daddy, was a full-blown alcoholic, and he was a binge drinker. And my mama don't like to talk about it, but I think my brother said back then he even went off and married somebody. It's just crazy. And so I come from a long line of just, and then, growing up, my uncle, my daddy's brother he went to play for he went in the minor leagues, and he went to play for the Yankees, but he had to come home, and nobody told us why. And so he was alcoholic. So anyway, he had to come home. Nobody told us why. So it was very. Now my mama did a great job. She did the best she could. It was very taboo. It was not talked about, And then I wake up at 34 years old with a slamming drinking problem, and just, I want to know, And so, I kind of knew about it, but, but didn't know the degree of it, and certainly didn't know the history. So anyway, Catherine and I had a really happy childhood, and we actually have, we're actually the babies of 7. And out of 7, I was telling Kelsey this on the way over here, out of 7 of us, there's 2 normal ones, 2 clinically depressed, and 3 full-blown alcoholics. And so I told Mom, I said, well, 2 out of 7 ain't bad. And so anyway, but now we've learned a lot through our journey and a lot through the program. And so, so anyway, so, and I am happy to say today that all 3 blown alcoholics are sober. So I'm very grateful for that. So here we go. We go through childhood and go through high school. I think I might sit on this stool. Thought I was going to stand up. I think I might sit. So anyway, we everything. So we go through that, and we don't drink. You know, we grow up thinking it's bad and thinking, you know, all this kind of stuff. And my mama, she probably told us. You know, she loved us 10 times a day. So we're used to all this affirmation and all this kind of stuff. And like I said, I'm very thankful for the way we grew up. And my daddy, he had a business. He was in retail, and he worked all the time, you know, so he wasn't at home except for nighttime. He supported her. She taught a Bible study for 40-some years, very active in our church, and he supported her. And so we went to private schools and all that kind of stuff. So we were very sheltered. And so then we get into high school, and I think I tried a little bit. The high school I went to, you get kicked out if you drank it. So anyway, so we didn't, not much. But as I look into as I know a little bit more about the disease now, and I probably need to share this, like growing up, I had alcoholic behavior way before I picked up a drink. I mean, way. Like, I remember specifically my 2 best friends in elementary school, Crystal and Amy. I would ask them like 10 times a day, are you still my best friend? Are you still my best friend? You know, just, I don't know where. It was just afraid they were going to leave. And they would say, well, we're not going to be if you keep asking us. So I always had to have that affirmation, always. And all my life, I looked for that in something. So as I got older, you know, in high school and stuff, you know, I was a cheerleader and things like that, and homecoming court. So, you know, I started to put all my identity in that. And I said, well, you know what? If I'm pretty, they'll love me. You know, if I'm thin, you know, they'll love me. So I wasn't anorexic. I couldn't make myself throw up, but I was bulimic. And so, yeah, I could later. I'll tell you about that later. But I could later. And I was, you know, I did that. And then my sister started getting heavy in college, so I showed her how to do it. And it's crazy. I'm like, you're getting fat. You got to learn how to do that. And so, anyway, so just crazy. It was crazy. So all that crazy behavior, and I didn't drink during all that time. So I went to college to get my MRS degree. And I got it. And so, anyway, so I married this boy, and that was my sole purpose. You know, I was going to go to college. So all these times, you know, I was trying to make myself or label myself or make myself this, you know, into something that, you know, that my parents would be proud of, or that who I thought. So here it is, that alcoholic mind just going way before I picked up a drink. I did beauty pageants and stuff like that. I did win Miss Congeniality, so I think, but anyway, so all these things, I just tried to like label myself. Well, and none of that really made me happy. So I married this boy from Lewisburg, North Carolina. He wasn't a bad guy, you know, and I didn't really think so, but I married him for all the wrong reasons, and I know that now. I was 20 years old. I was probably 17 maturity level, and I married him because I thought my parents would... I thought he was who they wanted. You know, he Eagle Scout, 4.0 GPA, president of the Adam Smith Club, which is the entrepreneur club. You know, he was going to make a lot of money. You know, I just thought that's what, and I'll never forget, I came home from college, and I think my daddy was in the bed by then. He was on oxygen, and I remember saying, I said, Daddy, you should be so proud of me, because I got married my senior year in college, and I said, you should be so proud. I said, you know, I have a nice house, I have nice clothes, I have a nice car. Look what, he goes, you had all that before you got married. And so he knew it was a mistake. I think he felt sorry for him. And I know he did. I know he did. So anyway, so we were married for about 5 years. This was we were married like 1991. And so we were married for 5 years. Now, before we got married, his daddy told me, he said, I'm gonna tell you something, and I just feel like I need to tell you. And he said, he will never be home. He'll be a millionaire by the time he's 35. And he said, and he's got one of the worst tempers I've ever seen. And I didn't believe it. And so needless to say, I saw it pretty early. I do take ownership for the marriage as well. I was spoiled. I was going to have whatever I wanted. I was going to have it like my mama had it. I was going to have this, and I was going to have this, and I was going to have this. I was spoiled, so I do own that. And I, and I was hard on him too, and that doesn't make it right. But anyway, I took him to counseling the first time, and then he was verbally abusive a little bit. But then he, needless to say, after about 5 years, we did get a divorce, and I told my mom, I said, this, we don't believe in divorce, and she said, well, not if this is happening, and so I did leave, and I think he did get help later, and so I'm very thankful for that, and I think he's doing good. And so anyway, so moving on with that. So here again, still just trying to make myself feel better, just take things. So that brings me to down here in Southern Pines, North Carolina. Okay, here we go. I think I got drunk one time while we were married, and then I just, my sister brought something over, and I drank it, and something like that, and it hit me pretty good. And then so I come down here, and I stay with my brother. And who's in the program now, and he's been sober like 12 years. Well, anyway, I didn't know any of this was going on, and I come to live with him and all this kind of stuff. Well, I start, getting into everything. Oh, wow, this stuff's making me feel good, and I start drinking, and I start going out at night, and I start just anything for comfort. I will tell you this, probably the first mistake I made is not getting counseling after my divorce. Now, I can tell you that I used to think weak people go to counseling. I don't believe that anymore. I think strong people ask for help. And I believe that with all my heart. And I don't have a problem today raising my hands and going, help, stop, stop. And so, things will get crazy at work, and people will be throwing stuff. And I mean, not throwing stuff, but like everything coming at me, and I'll just say, stop. And so I don't have a problem doing that today. And so I'm we're very grateful for therapy. So, but anyway, so we get down here and just, it starts. Now, I don't go crazy right off the bat. I just start drinking very socially, I fell in love. Now, I grew up with it a little bit, but I was sheltered from the drinking part of it. But I fell in love with the country club scene. Just loved it. Just loved everything about it. It was glamorous to me. I loved it. It consumed me. I just thought, wow, this is great, and just went to every party and everything. And then I did the bar scene too. I mean, just all of it. And just really started picking up. So I was a heavy hitter for, I'd say probably about 7 years. And I could drink. And I just, and I was like, and I like to do shots. And I'd do a couple glasses of wine, and I'd hit the shots. And I thought I was cool because I could drink with these boys, And I was like, I'm going to drink some shots. And, and so I just thought that was cool. And, I thought it was real cool that I would do all that, and I could drive. I thought that was cool. That's crazy. And so anyway, so picking up and everything. So then in 19, let's see. So that brings us, we're probably about 98, 90, I was down here like 96, 97, 98. And then my brother, that's when he started kind of hitting his bottom. And so we owned a business together. We owned a building. I owned the business, but we owned the property. So when he had to start liquidating everything, I had to go, I had to sell it and sell my property and everything. So I'm like, what do I do? This is all I've ever known. I had a business in Lewisburg, and then my brother and my mother and daddy helped me get one here. And I was like, what do I do? And so I'd call my mom at like 3 o'clock in the morning, like, oh my gosh, this is all I've ever done. So anyway, Mama made a couple phone calls, and I went to the interview and stuff, and I got a job in Greensboro. And so I went there. I was with Belk's. I was a manager at Belk's, and they that was good, and it went good. And I was drinking really heavy then. I think that was the first time I was in an apartment by myself. And so the first thing my mama and sister did is I tried to drive back. That was crazy. Tried to drive back and forth for a couple of weeks, and they came on a Saturday and go, "This is where you live." And they said, and here we put the security deposit down, and this is your, and then they enrolled me in Bible study. I'm laughing because I tell everybody, I went to church the whole time. I just wasn't listening. I wasn't listening at all. I was doing just what I wanted to. So, and and I think I even fussed out my Bible study teacher because she said I wasn't committed, and I was like, okay. So anyway, I was drinking, and I would drink. I would definitely. The only thing I had in the house was Oreos and wine and liquor. So I'd eat Oreos for supper, or I'd eat whatever. I'd eat them for breakfast, and I'd drink. Now, I wouldn't drink before I go to work because you'd get drug tested and stuff. And so, but I drank when I got home, and I drank at night. And so anyway, like I said, I was a heavy hitter. And then I'd come down here a lot on the weekends and when I was off, and I had some girlfriends here and stay with them, and I'd drink. It was all around the drinking and all around the bars and all around the, look at me, da-da-da. And so, I hid behind my smile and my big hair, and I remember sitting in the Pinecrest in the middle of 200 people, and I felt so alone. I just did. I was sitting up there, and I looked around, and I just felt so alone. And so this starts picking up, and then I meet my husband. My husband today, and he's a little bit older than I am, and actually a lady that had a house here, and that she had she went to Bible study with me. So she was from Thomasville. He's from Thomasville, and she introduced me to him. So we start dating, and everything, and I had a boyfriend while I was here, so I was back and forth, and I was like, I'd break up with my boyfriend, I'd get just crazy, just fix me, and just, I don't like you, fix me, and just all this kind of stuff, back and forth. Well, we, needless to say, we decided to get married. And so, and that was 99, I think, so I didn't know him very long. And so we bought a house in Thomasville and did all this, and so we got married. So probably about 2 years. He played golf, and we loved to shag and do all that. So here we go again, high rolling. We're gonna do it. Let's just go. Let's do it. Let's do it big. And I would hide it from him. I'd go get him and then I really that's really probably when we got that house is really when I started drinking before 5 and hiding it in the guest room and hiding it where, I had the guest rooms upstairs. I had all my clothes in there. So I pretend like I'd go up there looking for clothes, and I'd have bottles stashed everywhere. And I remember going to the bars, and he just drank beer. He's just a beer drinker. And I'd say, oh, I'll go get it, and I'd go get him a beer, me a glass of wine, but I'd have a shot or two from the bartender. I'd wink at the bartender, and they'd give me whatever I want, and then I would do that and come back with a glass of wine and the beer, but I was feeling good, and so not really. Now we all know that's a trick, but anyway, so false security. So anyway, so this is high rolling, all this kind of stuff. And here again, on my days off, all this kind of stuff. Then I went to work for Furniture Land South in between all that, which was a great job. And but I would drink on my days off, and we just really heavy hitter. And we go to the markets, like High Point, it really got crazy. Like the markets, they give it to you, so it really got crazy there. And I had 2 girlfriends there, and I'll tell you a little bit about them a little later. And one of them I drank really hard with, and the other one I drank with a little bit. She went to Bible study with me, and I'm just going to be real honest. I've learned to be honest with myself. I was riding both sides of the fence, and if I probably was a hypocrite. So anyway, and so I'll just say it. And so then we, one girl, I drink with her, and we'd party and whatever, and, pass out and all this stuff, and I didn't care, and I kind of hid it from the other one a little bit. She was my business partner, and I'll share this a little later, but really, I guess the way I perceived her, she succeeded and everything she did, and she overachieved, and she was I perceived her as very stern, very black and white, very judgmental, and I'll share a little bit about that later, but in my active addiction is how I perceived her. And she's really a good person. And so anyway, so all this is going on, and that it got really heavy then. And then, we, I get pregnant. And we kind of plan to, and so, and I will say this, I'll take a deep breath, and when I start saying something, I'll take a deep breath on this one. I'm very, very grateful that I, all my life, I wanted to be a mama and a wife, and and I was looking for security in the wrong places, and the reason I knew I was pregnant is I drank some red wine, and it tasted like vinegar, and I'm very, very grateful for that, because I know now I wouldn't have had any self-control, and it did, and I said, something's wrong, this isn't right, and then I couldn't even drink coffee for the first little bit, it just tasted bitter. So, and then this part, as I learn a little bit more about the disease too later, so here we go, this heavy, high roller, it lays dormant, while I'm pregnant for 9 months. And I believe everything they say about that. And I tested it one time, and I'll share that a little bit later. I tested. So I believe that it lays dormant. And then, when you pick it back up, it is off to the races, and it's at a different level. And I believe that. And so here I am pregnant, and I am... and, I wanted this. I was so happy about this little baby, and so happy. And I remember... I made a lot of bad decisions while I was single, and let's just kind of leave it at that a little bit. And I looked at everywhere for comfort. And I remember sitting at the Wendy's parking lot, and I'm being real candid about this, and crying and just praying, please don't let my baby have anything. Please don't let any decisions that I made, because I turned to people for comfort way before I turned to alcohol. And I just was thinking, please don't let my little baby be sick. And, and so anyway, and so I was, because I made some bad decisions. And so anyway, and so he wasn't, and I'm very grateful for that. And so anyway, I remember that though, and I just would have put my hand on my belly. Well, then I had my little boy Cameron, and I remember that I couldn't wait to stop feeding him, myself. Because I was ready to drink, and that's terrible. I'm just going to share that with you. I remember thinking, when I'll be done with this, I couldn't wait to finish doing that so I could drink. And so anyway, and that's so anyway, he was a year and a half, almost 2 years before I got sober. So here we go, and so we moved down here, and I have opportunity to have my business again. He's 6 months old. This space hadn't been available in 20 years, and I know now that I believe God was working the whole time with that. I believe now I'm where I'm supposed to be, but I had to get through. I had to be brought to my knees before I did that. And so anyway, we come down here. So for a year and a half, so I've got the baby, and we're driving back and forth a little bit because we hadn't sold our house. We didn't have a house here, and we got this space. I'm like, let's do this business. So I'm driving back and forth, and my sister lives here at Pine Wild, or she did at the time, and I'm going to stay with her. And so I do that, stay with her a couple nights a week, and I didn't want any help. Alcohol, that's true. I mean, alcoholics, a lot of us don't ask for help. I was going to be super wife, super mama. I was going to do this. I was going to do this by myself. I was going to have supper on the table. And, I wanted to be a steel magnolia like my grandma and my mama. And I was using alcohol to do it. And let me tell you something, they can have it. They can have it. I don't want it. I don't need it today. And so I don't mind asking for help. And so, anyway, I remember I would work everything around my drinking, I thought, and the best I could. So we got a nanny after a while, and then a couple of days a week he'd stay with my mother-in-law, which would go back to back and forth. I'd drop him off in Asheboro and come back, and I'd work everything around my drinking. And I remember dropping him off in Asheboro and drinking. Drinking from there to here. And, and I also, when we were here, I would, and this is in the 7:30 in the morning before I start work, and then when we would, I remember too, the days we were here, and when we got here, I'd drop him off at the nanny's, and I'd turn around in her cul-de-sac. I remember I'd drop him off, couldn't wait to drop him off, and I'd turn around, and in her cul-de-sac there was trees and stuff, and I'd have too many bottles right there, and I'd pop them at 7:30 in the morning or 8 o'clock in the morning just to start my day. And I just, I wasn't thinking about him. I was getting him where he needed to go, and I was doing that. And I remember when I stayed with my sister, I would pretend like I had to go back up to the store, or I'd pretend like I'd have to do something. I always kept Visine and toothpaste and a toothbrush in my pocketbook. And so, believe it or not, I looked just like, or I thought I did. I looked like, but I was drunk for a year and a half. I don't remember one day out of that year and a half that I didn't drink. And I went to see my friend, who I'm gonna talk about a little bit later. But we so anyway, so I do that, and it's just this cycle for a year and a half. And then, couple Christmas parties, my husband we go to the Christmas parties, and then we go out somewhere else, and I throw up in the car, and he has to bring me home, and I'm thinking, who doesn't get drunk at a Christmas party, and who doesn't do this? And, but I drank every day. And drank early, and I'd try to cut it off, and I'd try to cut it off at lunch and go pick him up, and I'd work it around. I'd say, can you go get him? And I just wasn't thinking about anything but myself. And I don't know how the taxes got paid that year, but I guess they did. And so anyway, I don't remember most of that. And so it starts. All right, let's see. So we buy the house here, so we're here in 2003, and then all this time we get up to like Christmas in 2004, and that so I stopped drinking, I think, for 2 weeks, and then it gets worse, and so then we go through the spring, and we're here in the house, and I said it's starting to really cause problems. My husband and I are having problems anyway, and my drinking, I'm sure it was some of the problem, but I don't think it caused the problem. It certainly did not help, and that's how I coped with it, and it certainly made things a lot worse. And so I remember April of 2004, it was April, and we got in this big fight, and we we threw things, and I remember I threw a wine glass. I'm gonna be honest. I cut up all his golf shirts, all of them, and I took a knife and went through the thing and cut up all of them. And I'm gonna tell you, it's what it does. It's this disease. I've got 2 bar stools in my kitchen. I meant to show Kelsey that tonight with slashes in them where you look at me, you and there. I was mean, and so and I would cuss. And my morning group still don't remember. They still don't believe me about that, but I would cuss. And so anyway, so I keep those bar stools there so I'll remember where by my choices this disease took me. And so anyway, so I remember April, we got in this big fight, and I threw a glass, cut up everything. I remember cutting myself, and I didn't care. I mean, I didn't do it on purpose, but I had that glass, and I cut my leg, and I cut my arm, and I didn't care. I didn't care if I bled. And I was, and now he drank a lot too. Well, I said not a lot. He's not an alcoholic by any means, but he drank with me and stuff. And back then, and this is all about getting honest with myself and getting honest, I was terrified that my husband was going to leave me and take my little boy. But it's still, after 8.5 years, still hard for me to say this. If I am really honest with myself, he would have been better off then if I had not got help, because I was where I couldn't control it. And so if I'm really honest with myself, now not today, he doesn't even know where the underwear drawer is, so not today, only by the program. But but anyway, I have that fight. I was sober. My mama comes up. This is the first glimpse I see of the program. My mama calls my brother Drew. He's been in there 3 years. He goes, she's done this, she's done this, she's done this. Do you think she's an alcoholic? And my old brother, before the program, and this is the first glimpse I got of the program, Alcoholics Anonymous, would have said, he would have said, I can't believe her. She's ruining her life. She's got somebody that loves her. She's got a baby. I can't believe. He didn't say any of that. He said, Mama, I can't tell her. He said, but all I know is that if she would, the little sister that I know, if she would do all this, she is spiritually bankrupt and she's spiritually sick. And he said, she does need some help. So I was sober 54 days, and I like to say that, 54 days by myself. yes, by myself. I love that thing. I sponsor myself. Woo, you know where that gets us. And so, by myself. And so, number one, I had no peace. I had no serenity. I didn't have y'all. I didn't know anything about y'all. I drank enough coffee to sink this room. I was a wreck. I was nervous. I was miserable. And, I was just determined. But I did not have any peace. And needless to say, I couldn't have told you if I was going to drink that day, but I went to a wedding. And I just blew it. And I went to the wedding, and the reception was at National, and I remember stopping at the Fresh Market on the way to the wedding, because that's what I used to do. So I got me a little thing of wine, 4-pack, and drank 2 before I even got to the wedding. So then I go and I drink. So here I am, little Southern girl, gonna keep my little Southern girlness, whatever, and all this, and just I drank every bit of it in the bathroom. So the bar was right near the bathroom, so I'd get a glass of wine, I'd run to the bathroom, and then I'd just sit in there and drink it. And so anyway, so nobody saw me drink anything, but I was a mess, and I would pretend like I had to go out to the car, and I learned and all about being honest. I told my husband he didn't have to go with me, I'd go by myself. It was business related, so I felt like I had to go, but I was pissed off the whole time because he didn't go with me. But I told him he didn't have to go with me. And so here I am, I'm mad because I'm by myself. And so anyway, so I'm drinking and doing all this. Well, then I go to the doctor and I say, I call my friend and I go, I think I've got a problem. And she said, well, I don't think you do. See, I hid it from everybody. My husband protected me. And most of the time, he'd get me out of somewhere and get me home. And before I made a fool of myself. And she goes, I don't think you do, but if you think you do, need to go talk to somebody. I've got somebody you can talk to. And so I make an appointment, and it's about 2 weeks before I can get in. I go to the assessment nurse, and I said, this is who my friend says I need to see, and of course, I lie to the assessment nurse. I don't tell her everything. I tell her a little bit, And so she sends me to the doctor, and they give me some pills. All right, for anxiety and depression. All right, okay. So I got postpartum depression, and I'm not an alcoholic, and I'm treating myself. Okay. So let me tell you about that. Thank God I did not listen to her. Thank God. Okay, it took me a little while, but thank God I did not listen to her. She goes, you've been sober 54 days by yourself. You're not an alcoholic. And I learned, of course, I drank with the pills. We know all how that goes, And so I'm like, okay, so we're off to the races now. And so, and I'm drinking, and I stop a day and start a day and start a, and all this kind of stuff. And now I'm blacking out. That's why I believe I'm hard on those. And that 54 days, I'm blacking out about every time. And, that kind of thing. And so they... So here we go, getting to the end, because in June, the wedding was June 19th. I remember that. And so I got sober. So here, the 3 weeks between June and July 5th. So I am, I'm doing all this, and it's just a mess. And so I finally get in with the therapist, and I'm so grateful. And she's in this room tonight, and she always supports me. And I still hear her in my head. And I'm so grateful. I'm looking at the clock. I'm gonna have to talk fast to finish the rest. And Oh, and I forgot. Okay, actually, let me back up just a minute. I forgot the most important part of the whole thing is that it was probably about the Sunday before I went to therapy. I went to church. My husband was playing golf, went to church, still drinking. It was between that June 19th and July. I remember I bring my little boy home, put him in his pack and play, and I crawl up. He's got a big bed that I used to have when I was little, big bed in his room, and I'm looking down on the pack and play. And it's the first time I've prayed in about 6 months because I either knew I was going to get drunk or I felt separated from God. I think probably both, and felt some shame. And I looked down, and I just looked, and I said, and I read a really quick prayer, and I said, God, protect him from me. And because I didn't trust myself anymore to not put him in the car and not drive with him, and I didn't trust myself. And I believe that God started answering my prayer right there, because it was about 2 or 3 days, and I had got in to see Nancy. And then that day, she said, I'm speaking tonight. Would you meet me there? So I went in that room over there, and somebody hugged me, and I believe right then it started to save my life. And I am so grateful for this program. I cannot say enough about this program. I cannot say enough about the design for living that it has given me. It right then, and it. I look. I've had. My little boy's 10, so I've had 8 sober birthdays with him, and I'm grateful for every one of them. And when I was washing the dishes at 10 o'clock at night, gratitude is everything. I thought I could have pissed all this away, and I was this close, and I could today if I choose to go back. We all have one day. And I'm going to share a little bit about what today means and what it means to me. It has changed my life. I do believe it's made me a better person. I believe it's made me a better mother, a better wife. And I do have to work it and live it every day. I believe the steps. I believe every bit of the steps. And one thing that that I heard this year. I've been in here. Casey said, I've heard that all the time, but I love this. I said, I've been here and I heard it right before Christmas in my morning group. It's the step 1, 2, and 3. I can't, he can, and I think I'm gonna let him. And every time I grab the wheel, I end up in the ditch. And I do. And I'm a business person. I'm used to making things happen and getting it done. But every time I do, I end up in the ditch. I've learned today to be honest with myself and honest with other people. I like to think about how I used to do the what I used to do before the program. And I remember I ordered. I was supposed to order something from this lady, and she came in and she said, oh, did you get that for me? And I would have made up some story. Oh, I couldn't get the rep, and he's at the show, and I tried to get her. I looked at her and I go, you know what? I forgot. I got a little 4-year-old. I've got stuff running all around. I forgot, but I'll do it as soon as you leave. And I've learned to be true to myself. And like Nancy used to say, nobody would know that. She wouldn't have even known, but I would know. And I think those things just eat us up. And another thing is that, I don't want to miss the blessings today. There's blessings in every day. And there's this one man came in the store, and he said, I'll never forget this as long as I live. It said, he got there, and by the time he hit the front room, my front room's not real big, by the time he hit the door and got to the counter, and I was probably sober 2 or 3 years, he said, man, you got a lot of stuff in here. How do you keep inventory in here? How do you dust in here? What do you do with all that stuff? And and by the time he got to the counter, he had said something 10 times, and the old me, and I promise you, I'd have smiled, and the old me would have said, sir, that door goes both ways. And there's some rocking chairs out on the porch. But you know what? I didn't. And I said, you know what? That's why we're having a sale. But I'll tell you this. I said, what's your name? He said, Jack. I said, are y'all down Biston? And he said, oh, no. He said, we've been down here a month. He said, my wife's been staying in the Homewood Suites. He said, I had to have a special heart surgery that only someone here could do. And by the time he left, I told him I'd pray for him. And had I been the old person I used to be before this program, I'd have missed that blessing. And I'm so grateful for this program. I cannot say enough. I say the Serenity Prayer a lot these days. I've learned with everything I can't control people, places, or things, but I can control how I react toward them, or how I don't react toward them, or how I treat them. And we talk about that a lot. And so, and then I'm trying to move on through so I can see what I want to. Okay, so we talk. I do want to mention the sponsorship. I can't say enough about that. I think for the first couple years, to be honest with you, I didn't really work with a lot of people, a little bit, and I would call people, and I'd be there, and I'd put my name on the list, but I didn't really sponsor them, and I still felt that shame of alcoholism, and I didn't share it, but I realize now that was selfish, and I don't have that today, and I'm so grateful to first of all, KC is just my little angel, and I really need her. I've had some stressful things in the last 3 years in our life, and with the economy and corporate takeovers and all that good stuff. So I've had to step up to the plate a little bit, but I didn't drink over it, and I came to a lot of meetings, and I can say that my higher power did provide, and I did learn to what one day at a time means, and I just I just turn it over every day, and I can't say enough about working with Kelsey and what I've learned with her, and she's helped me more than I could ever help her, and I'm just so grateful for sponsorship and what it gives us. And I have to share this. It just makes you can tell I like to joke a little bit, and I like movies. And there's one movie that I saw last year in The Blind Side, and I said it just sums up sponsorship to me. And it says that the lady in there, she goes, Leanne, you're changing that boy's life. She said, he's changing mine. And so I just love that, and that's what sponsorship means to me. And I do want to one more story, and then I'll close. My friend Carla, and I'm going to share about that, and if I can get through this without crying. My judgmental friend, and if you might hear me on the recording, if Carla, if you can hear me, I'm quoting that. My judgmental friend, that I got an opportunity to talk to her. We talked a little bit over the years, but we lost touch, and I got the opportunity about 3 weeks ago to talk to her. And like I said, we exchanged pictures, Christmas cards, and everything, but we weren't as close as we used to be, and we were best friends. And I didn't tell her when I came into this program, and I didn't tell her why I dropped off the face of the earth. And I talked to her about 3 weeks ago, and we talked over the years about little stuff, and she said, did you hear my news? And I said, you're having another baby. She said, I got cancer, and it's bad. And so anyway, so we talk, and that whole afternoon we're texting things of our babies, and texting pictures and everything. And I've got this elephant between us because I'm holding on to the elephant. And I called her back. It was about 4 o'clock. I go, are you busy? She goes, no, we're not real busy. I said, can you talk? I told her everything. And I told her, I said, Carla, I was wrong, and I judged you, and I thought you would judge me, but I was really judged. I know now I was judging you. And I said, and I've carried this for 8.5 years and perceived you the way I perceived you in my active alcoholism, and I'm sorry. And I said, I know now I was wrong. And her answer was certainly not of what a judgmental person would say. She said, I thought I did something wrong. And she said, I'm sorry that you didn't feel like you could tell me. So anyway, I can't take back those years of the birthday parties and the babies. I said, but we do have today. And we went up there a couple weeks ago, and I stayed all day long. And I talked to her, and I called her this morning and told her I was coming. And so I said, I'm going to tell them about you. She said, that's good. So anyway, I'm just so grateful that we have today. And and I believe with all my heart she's going to make it. And then I wanted to share, I thought about this today. My story's kind of different, and I'm sure some people can't relate to what I said and can't relate to some things, but everybody in here can relate to the desperation, the hopelessness, and despair that this disease brings us to. Everybody can. And there is a solution, and it's in this program, Alcoholics Anonymous. And for me, I can only say it's with my higher power. And I just want to close with saying this, and I hadn't shared this in 8.5 years, and I shared this the first time I shared my story, and it just was on my heart. I sat on the 12th row on the left side for 18 years in the Baptist Church of Hoke Arena, and never did I know what the third verse of this song meant like I do today. And after coming to my knees with alcoholism, and it just says, and I can quote it, through many dangers, toils, and snares I have already come. Was grace that brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. My name's Caroline. I'm alcoholic. Thanks for letting me
Thank you, Caroline. Oh.